Okay, here we have a 1986 Sea Reg, totally genuine Defender 110 county station wagon. It's got a galvanised chassis fitted to it. If we have a little walk around, you'll see there are one or two areas on the bulkhead. Obviously it's had a repair in the last few years. The bulkhead definitely wants some work. I'd say the benefit of this is this bulkhead can be repaired itself and it doesn't need a new one. New ones are over £1,000 or $2,000 just for the bulkhead. We would anticipate repairing this for well under half that because it's a pretty good bulkhead. If we look underneath, you'll see the galvanised chassis. It's a bit hard to see actually, but you can just see it there. It was a designer chassis, not a Marsland or a Richards from a few years ago. I'd anticipate it's probably 6 or 8 years old. We'd have to look and see when the company last made them. If we look at the doors, they're pretty good. You know, the door bottoms there, they don't look like they've ever been repaired, and there's very little or actually no corrosion on them at all. Again, looking through, the sills and B-posts have been replaced in the last month or so. So you can see there's new sills on it. There's a bit of corrosion on the bottom of the bulkhead there, but the footwells are really good. You can see it's a later style bulkhead, so it has had a replacement bulkhead at some point. Dash is all pretty tidy, it's not full of holes, it's not all full of screw holes for hands-free kits. Seating's totally original, and you can still buy from Exmoor Trim the retrim kits in this material, so you can keep this totally genuine if you want, or of course you can pimp it up with the half leather, etc. If you wanted to go to later style doors, you just have to change the lock in the bottom there, and you can put the all metal, all steel TDCI doors on it. Middle row, they're less good. If you look through the lock there, you can see there's a little bit of a hole. There's a corrosion in the usual places there. So for me, I would definitely be repairing this door, but I might be inclined to swap them for a set of later styles. Again, totally original middle row seats and its original cloth. Again, it's had some repair here, and he's done a really nice job of it, the chap who had it before us. Again, you can see the sill there has been replaced. Headlining again, completely original. It does clean up this stuff, but you can get the aftermarket fiberglass, which I'm not a big fan of, or the genuine modern Land Rover 110 headlinings will fit, but they're reasonably expensive at kind of £200, $400 a section, but you could get those and replace it and have the interior as good as new. The car's in really good condition. Again, you look at in the second row here, look at the floor plate there. Again, it's in really good nick. It's not corroded through like often we see. It's obviously been pretty well looked after over the years. In the back, it's got the LPG system. Personally, I'd take that out. I'm not a big fan of it. The V8 motor runs beautifully on petrol. I wouldn't bother with the V8. A couple of the window trims are missing, a couple of the old bits which you can make up and ply and retrim, or again fit the later style TDCI or TD5 fiberglass window surrounds, which we can get genuine or aftermarket. As you work your way around, it's had the cappings done, they've been galvanised, so that's fantastic, so there's no costs incurred there. And again, at the back you can definitely see the galvanised chassis. It's got tow equipment on it, rear door's pretty much shot, and again, a door's a couple of $100 for a door. Again, there's a bit of work in stripping all the kit over, but for me that's past its best. But again, they're not expensive parts, easy to paint and replace. Again, in the back you can see the tank. It's got the seat frames, but again, for what Exmoor Trim charge for new ones, I wouldn't be refurbing those, I'd just replace them. Get a good view through the car. It's totally original and it's really, really nice. It has either got the makings of a completely pimped up wagon, or it stays as is. For me, I'd probably take it back to original. A little bit of bodywork needed, tiny bit in the back corner there. Again, a little bit back here, but nothing really, considering its age. Again, you get a good view of the galvanised chassis looking in down here. You can see the guy who's had it before has put a bit of Dinatrol on that shock, but for me, I'd be inclined to fit new springs and shocks. To go all over, you're looking at about £500, so that's $1,000 to fit all new springs and shocks and rebush it, and that's probably the kind of thing I'd be looking at doing. You look down the side, it's really straight. You can see the original decals. Again, something I really like, and if you were going to refurb it, your local sign writing company could cut those stickers for you because you can't buy them anymore, or they painfully mask around them, one or the other. It's got really good steel wheels on it. Tyres are fine, they'd get through any inspection, but for me, again, with the cost of tyres, I'd just be replacing them. Probably want an exhaust sooner rather than later, so again, if you were going to ship it, I'd probably get us to do that first. Again, in here you can see it's been Dinatrolled. Definitely want springs and shocks, and again, a nice look at the bulkhead. So if we stand back and have another look at it, totally original, really nice looking 110. Its benefit really is the fact that it's had a galvanized chassis and you're not paying for that. But other than the chassis itself, I'd be inclined to put a bit of money into it, tidying it up with spring shocks, bushes. I'd definitely be doing the bulkhead either in the UK or when it was in Canada. But you're probably not going to find a better base vehicle to start with a chassis already done. If I just hand my camera to my colleague, I'll show you the engine. There you go, the Rover V8 engine, 3.5, absolutely fantastic motor. It's had new carbon intake manifolds on it. It's had an exhaust at some point. It's got the sports exhaust manifold on there. It runs really nicely. I've not run it on gas. There's no gas in it, and I wouldn't be putting any in it. It's had new leads. Fantastic running engine. It brakes beautifully, starts and stops as it should, drives really nicely. It is basically a project vehicle, but it's a lot of vehicle to start with. And I think the fact that its bulkhead is good enough to repair, it's got a galvanised chassis, I think it's a great starting point and it's priced fairly to sell.